All right, let's see if we could do this without pre-doing anything. Probably need to edit the video. So this is Carmine Buffano, and we are going to attempt to install what are we installing? I think we're going to try and do Packstack today, Openstack. So vsphere, vcenter open, and the latest Openstack release is Ussuri, and I'm going to attempt to install a 2-node or 3-node development cloud, and we're going to use the new tunneling. I believe it's Geneve tunneling. It used to use VLAN, but Openstack now switched to the OVN vSwitch plugin, and I believe that's what we are going to use. So what we're going to do is spin up a couple of virtual machines on on vCenter server and enable nested virtualization, and on that we will spin up a couple of centos instances and use those just as if it was bare metal, or just as if it was a bare metal server without virtualization. It's going to be the exact same thing. So instead of booting up a regular server, we'll just be doing it with virtual machines. Same difference. Only difference is we're going to be using NSX to create the networks. Well, at least some of the networks. I don't know. Actually, I do know it's not going to be able to nest the networks because we're going to be using tunneling. Here, let me just whip out my Paint program. So instead, what we're going to do with NSX, what we're really doing here is I have servers, right? And they're running ESX on them. Okay. And there's more, but we'll just use these for now. 1, 2, 3. And these are running ESX, ESXi. And on these, we're going to spin up virtual servers. It should be a V. Looks like a U, but trust me, that's a V. So these virtual servers are going to be able to act just as if they were bare metal servers. Now, I'm going to give each of these servers 2 interfaces. 1, and we'll put the other one on the side, 2. So that would be NIC1 or ETH0, and then ETH2, or the second network interface. Same thing on this virtual server. And this first one, the first one on each server, we'll use as management. So these will be connected. The first network card on each server will be connected to a switch, and that will make up management, and also the main gateway for all the virtual machines to connect to the internet. Okay, I should learn how to spell. Anyway, the second NIC, okay, and this we're going to be using NSX for. We're going to use VLANs for this. What Openstack is going to do is use this network as a underlay. So an underlay is the the opposite of an overlay. So the underlay network here, we're going to set up, and over this underlay network, Openstack is going to create tunnels. And it's going to be Geneve tunnels. You use VXLAN. It could also use GRE, but GRE isn't very popular anymore. Excuse me, I have a sore throat. And so when we use NSX, NSX already creates tunnels. So if we used NSX for this network here, there's already an underlay, and over that underlay, there's an overlay of tunnels. And if we used a NSX virtual network here, it would then try to create a underlay out of an overlay out of the underlay. I know this gets silly and confusing, but trust me, I've tried this. It won't work because NSX is already tunneling, and then OpenStack's going to try to tunnel inside of the tunnel that's already there, and you're going to have a whole bunch of problems with MTUs. And so we're just going to use a VLAN for this. We will use a NSX network for the management, though, for the management part, however. And I'm also going to show you how that connects to a router with BGP. Okay. Again, haven't practiced this or anything. I'm just going to try to do this with one shot, and we'll see how that works out. So we have our cluster here, and we're going to spin up 3 virtual machines, controller, and 2 compute nodes. All right. So we're going to use CentOS 7 for that. Oh, probably going to have to cut that out. No, there's no passwords there. Alrighty. Alright, what we are going to do, probably should have taken care of that first. Alright, let's download CentOS. We'll use CentOS 8. So just going to centos.org, and we are going to download 8 minimal. Don't want to use stream. See, this is bringing me back here. Let's see what we get. Here we go. All right, so we want CentOS 8.2 minimal ISO, so we don't get the desktop. It's just a bare minimal server. I'm going to save this, and let's see, we're going to put this. So I want to put this somewhere where my ESXi server is going to see it. So I already have that. I'll click no, but you would just download it. Alrighty. Next, so we're going to create a virtual machine. I will call this one controller. it on storage. And I'm going to tell vCenter server that it's a CentOS OS that we're going to install. I'm going to give it 12 virtual CPUs, and I have 2 sockets, so I'm going to say 6 per socket, 6 vCPUs, and I'm going to enable hardware virtualization. I will give it 48 gigs of RAM. And the hard disk we will thin provision with 900 gigs. Networking we'll take care of in a minute. I am going to add a second network device though. And I want to put that CentOS 8 CD into the drive. So we're going to go here and say I want to connect this drive to a data store ISO file, and it will bring this up. And I'm just going to look for CentOS 8.2. There it is. Click OK. I want it to connect when it powers on so that it boots from it. Click Next. And it is now creating that virtual machine. All right, so that's finished. I'm going to need 2 more of those. So I'm going to locate this machine. I call it controller. Here it is. I think the easiest thing to do is literally just instead of cloning this one, which takes time, I'm just going to create 2 more. So I'll just click through this real quick. Call this one compute 1. I'm going to give it same 12 CPUs. Also enable hardware virtualization. That will give us the nested virtualization so we can run another hypervisor inside of that hypervisor. Also give this 48 gigs. And we're going to thin provision 900 gigs. Should be fine. Second network adapter. And here we're also going to connect it to the same CentOS ISO. Okay. You know what? 2 is fine for now. So what we'll do is the controller node will also be a compute node as well. Okay, so what we have now is, we should see 2 VMs. compute 1 and controller. So I'm going to open these guys up. There is 1 and 2. Don't need this anymore. All right. So now this here is just as if we had 2 brand new servers. And clicking on this is literally just hitting the power on button on the physical servers. What I haven't done yet is connect the networking, so let's take care of that. So we have NSX V installed in this vCenter cluster, and what I want to do here is through NSX, I'm going to create a logical switch, and we will use this for management of the Openstack cluster. So I'm basically just going into NSX and I'm creating a new virtual switch. I will call this RDO management. And leave this as default. Enable Mac Learning. All right. So now we want to connect. So now here is the switch that we just created. And what I want to do is connect it to an edge so that it has access to the outside world. So before we do that, actually, let's go back to our virtual machines. And edit. And I'm going to connect the first network adapter to that virtual switch that I just created. See, this happens sometimes when it pops up behind it. Let's try it again. So what I want to look for is that network I just created. And here it is, RDO management. And click OK. Do the same for the compute. Here it is, RDO management. And click OK. All right, next, we need a VLAN to connect these two. So it's going to use that second network adapter as a underlay for all the tunnels that go between these two compute nodes. So this first node won't just be a controller; it'll also be a compute node. So I'm going to go into my switch and create a VLAN for that. So I'm just puttying. I'm going to SSH into my into my Dell switch. So this is a Dell EMC S048ON switch. Hold on, let me put this microphone down. Okay, fantastic. All right, I'm in the switch. Just going to log in so we can take a look at our VLANs. All right, so these are VLANs that I already have created, but I'm not using all of them. Just for the purposes of demonstrating, I'm going to create a new VLAN. So what I'm going to do is go in and say okay, so now I'm in the switch and I'm going to go into configuration mode. And let's see. Actually, let me exit out of this. Type in show VLAN. See VLANs that we already have. So I'm going to create VLAN 4046. So I'll go into configuration mode. And I'm going to say I want to create a interface called VLAN 4046. Okay, so now if I look at the config for this interface, there's nothing there and it's shut down. So what I'm gonna first do is bump up the MTUs, and what you want to use is you definitely want to use more than I believe it's 1580, because the tunneling protocol adds an overhead to the MTUs used. But we're just going to set it to 9000. Before you do that, you want to make sure that your hardware is capable of transmitting an MTU of 9,000 and just set it accordingly. So you don't want to set the MTU to something that your network hardware isn't going to be able to handle. Otherwise, you'll fragment the packets and it'll run very slow, if at all. All right, so the next thing I want to do is say I want to add interfaces here to this VLAN. So I'm going to say tagged. For some reason it's lagging. Okay, so tagged interface. No, tagged 10 gigabit Ethernet, and I'm just going to tag the ones that are connected to my servers. Okay, so what we can see here now is that we set the MTU to 9,000, and we attached as tagged interfaces, interfaces 1 through 12. All right, and I now just want to add one more. Very good. And final command is to turn the interface up so that it is active. And we'll do that with the no shutdown command. Okay. Okay, so we are set. We have interface VLAN 4046. You know what? I could have set a description for it, but you know what? I will do that. So I'm going to say configure. Oh, I'm still in it. I'm just going to use the description command. And I'm going to say that it's used for the RDO tunneling. Okay, and I'm going to exit out of this interface. And I'm going to save the config to the switch. And exit out of the switch. Now, go back to vCenter, and we are going to go to networking. These are our distributed switches. Okay, so we're going to create this, we're going to add this VLAN here. So what I'm going to do is create a new distributed port group. Call it RDO tunnel. I'm going to say that it's a VLAN, and I'm going to give it the VLAN number that we used, which was 4096. Also, what I want to do is get in there and, oh, was it 4096? What was it? Oh no. is 4046. All right. Now, this is very important. You want to allow promiscuous mode so that all the frames are passed through each node. You want to allow forged transmits and allow it to change the MAC addresses. It won't work unless you change these to accept for this network. That's with anytime you're nesting virtualization, you do have to do that. Everything else is fine. Now I'm going to go back to my virtual machines, and I'm going to add that network. Okay, so this is it. That's the one we just created. And I'm going to add it as the second network interface to the controller compute 0. I'm going to do the same to the other node. Very good. Okay, now for the first network, I'm going to go back to NSX, and what I'm running here is, as my main gateway is MikroTik, and I'm using BGP peering from NSX to this router. So any virtual network that I create will use this as its gateway to reach the internet. These are all the subnets that I have there right now. So let me go back to NSX, and I'm going to go to an edge. And I'm going to connect the logical switch we made to ESG1 Edge Services Gateway 1. So this is the one we created, RDO management. I'm going to say connect edge. And I'm going to connect it to the Edge Services Gateway. That's the one I have peered with my MikroTik router, and I'm going to use the next available NIC, which is vNIC3, and I'm going to say OK. I'm going to change the status to connected, and I'm going to configure a subnet. You can make this anything you want as long as it's already not being used in your network. So let's see, I will use 172.16. Dot 168 dot 1, and set the net mask to 24. Okay, so this is going to be the gateway. I'm going to add that. So now this should show up here. And it doesn't. Let's see if we can ping. Alright, I am able to ping it, so it is working. I'm able to ping that network I just created. So it should have internet access when I add an IP address to these virtual machines, but we'll just double check that. Alright, so now we can boot these machines up.